happy to be with you this morning. And I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had a vivid dream that stuck with you for years and seemed to want to tell you something? Maybe you understood the symbolism and maybe not. Joel's got a hand up. Who else has had a vivid dream, at least one, that stuck with you? You could tell me in detail right now what it was. Okay, quite a few people. But then maybe some of us here never made much of dreams. Like, yeah, you've had some dreams, never made too much of them. Who could raise their hand on that? Dreams come, they go. Yeah, Wesley, Earl, there's coming and going. What's the big deal, right? And then some people may have been actually tortured by dreams, like nightmares and these recurrent chaos dreams where you're trying to get to the airport or something like that, trying to make something work and it just won't work. Who's had that kind of dream? Anxiety dreams. Yeah, good. Not that it's good that you have them, but maybe that you notice them. So noticing all these different types of situations when it comes to dreams. Dreaming on the spiritual path and why that's of value to us to look at is my topic today. And so whatever kind of dreamer you are, and we're not all the same, but whatever kind of dreamer you are, as spiritual practitioners, you have the chance to tune in to what some call the cosmic dreamer. And I'm pulling that out of Joel's work, out of his text. And the cosmic dreamer represents consciousness itself. Is there something of value there? Certainly sounds like there would be, right? To listen in to the cosmic dreamer. So I'd like to explore the question of the value of dreams on the spiritual path. What good are they? So we'll get into that. And how do you get started? Some of you might say, yeah, I've never really had a dream practice, but I'd like to get one started. How might you get started? But first we'll have a meditation. And I think it's a lovely morning for this type of meditation I'd like to do. And let's just get comfortable. It doesn't mean you have to sit in lotus posture, wherever you're sitting, and you might be at home lying down, or you might be listening later on to this, and whatever position you're in is fine. Just be comfortable. It's important to relax. And in a moment, I will ring this bell here. And at the end of the meditation, I'm going to go directly into a poem by Rumi. Okay, and then I will ring the bell, and then we will continue this discussion about dreams and the spiritual path. Okay, sound good? All right, this I think of as a refuge meditation, to take refuge. One time I went to see my teacher, Ruth Dennison, and I hadn't seen her in a year, and she said, what has been your biggest suffering in the last year? And I said, oh, I had a terrible argument with my brother. And she said, did you take refuge? I said, no, I forgot. What she meant was to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But here, I would like to guide us to an inner refuge that we don't actually need to name. It's there. It's there all the time. It's what I like to call the deep listening. It's a place or a no place that's always there, always accessible. But how do you get to it? You might be wondering. There might be a lot of turmoil in your life. You might be having family problems, a health crisis. You might have election anxiety. Some do, huh? Lots of people do. Whatever it is, all of that together, all of that discomfort, that aversion, anxiety, the refuge is there for you at all times. How do you find it? So I will ring the bell and I will guide you into this meditation. So let's start with the breath that nurtures and enlivens the body. Some of you might think, oh, that again, the breath, it's so boring. But look closely, listen deeply to the breath. It's such a miracle. The entire universe is breathing you. Entire universe breathing you. You don't breathe. Breathing happens. Watch very closely. Universe breathing you. Your task now is to relax and watch inward. Listen. This miracle of breath is always there for you to fall back on. And if it isn't, then things have changed. That would be a different talk. But as long as we're alive in the body, the breath is there for us to go to. So we relax into this breath, neither pushing or pulling. And we relax. And when we watch this breath very closely, all those stories of worry and agitation, where are they? Gone. Slip away. Worry and agitation slips away. Election worries fall away. By the way, worry does not change any outcomes. Breathing, happening. You watching, listening, the deep listening. You are free from troubles. You take refuge in the very seat of awareness. Consciousness itself. You rest in the true nature of being. Compassion naturally arises. Let that compassion soothe you. When you do this, true nature of being radiates inward and it radiates outward. True nature radiates inward, what we think of as inward, and it radiates outward. This is prayer. Touch that. This is true prayer, not asking for anything to be different than it is. Radiating outward, filling the apparent space around you, radiating inward, filling the apparent space within. True prayer. With this prayer, touching all, bringing all together, we bring it all together with relaxed love and compassion. Now let's stay here for a few moments. The universe breathing you. You relaxing in love and compassion. I'm starting a little bit of music here. And as you come back to where we started, just notice a glow in your heart. with this glow, you meet life, and you also meet the loss of life. Some call it grace. Let's call it deep listening today. And before I ring the bell, I want to read you a poem attributed to the 13th century Sufi poet Rumi. It's called Listening. What is this deep listening? Sama is a greeting from the secret ones inside the heart. A letter. The branches of your intelligence grow new leaves in the wind of this listening. The body reaches a peace. Rooster sounds come, reminding you of your love of dawn. The reed flute and the singer's lips. The knack of how spirit breathes into us becomes as simple and ordinary as eating and drinking. Rumi says, the dead rise with the pleasure of listening. If someone can't hear a melody, sprinkle dirt on his head and declare him dead, Rumi says. Listen and feel the beauty of your separation, the unsayable absence. There's a moon inside every human being. Learn to be companions with it. Give more of your life to this listening. As brightness is to time, so you are to the one who talks to the deep ear in your chest. As brightness is to time, so you are to the one who talks to the deep ear in your chest. Rumi says, I should sell my tongue and buy 1,000 ears. I should sell my tongue and buy 1,000 ears when that one steps near and begins to speak. Let's bring our hands together. In honor of the deep listening, and I'm going to tune out the music. Much as I love it, here it goes. Beautiful. So the poem is attributed to Rumi, and in the beginning it says, Sama is a greeting from the secret ones inside the heart. And someone says, what is Sama? I had to look it up. And in Turkish, it actually means listening. So it's part of the Sufi tradition. Zikr would be remembrance, and Sama is the listening, the deep listening. So everyone coming on back. So I just wanted to give you an experience of refuge anytime that you feel the anxiety, anticipation that's uncomfortable, the aversion, any of it. Take refuge in that deep listening and allow yourself to feel the breath moving in and out. Happening, you could go to sleep, it's still going. It's not you making it happen, but you may observe it at any time. So I'd like to welcome all the people who came in a little bit late. My topic today is going to be dreaming and why that has value on the spiritual path. And I already asked, whether you had dreams that stuck with you for a long time, or whether you counted dreams at all. Maybe they're just, passing through, they make no difference. And some people are plagued by dreams. They wish they could get rid of them and not remember them at all. But have you ever really thought about your history of dreaming? I heard Joel ask one time, or he said, if I asked you what's one of the most important moments of your life, you probably wouldn't say dreaming or a dream that I had, because we don't take that as important as what we call waking life. So I think it's kind of interesting to ask yourself, what is my history of dreaming? What is my history of dreaming? Has it been anything? Have I noticed it at all? I wanted to tell you that in my family, my mother was interested in dreams, and she talked about dreams that she would have, and also visions, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. But dreams meant something to her, and she liked to talk about it or to report some of them. And I remember her telling me about a recurring dream she had. She had something in her hand, and she kept turning it over in her hand like this. She could feel there was something there in her hand, but she could never open the hand. She couldn't see what was in it, and she would report this to me. I said, Mom, next time you have that dream, open your hand. Open your hand and see what's there. I thought maybe it's a hot coal and it'll fall out of her hand if she would open it. But it got me thinking too about that. What's in her hand? I really wanted to know. Well, later on, she reported back to me that she was one day able to open the hand, and there in the hand was a buckeye. I have one here. So see, she had a big influence on me. I still have a lucky buckeye. So a buckeye is thought to bring you good luck. So she was carrying that buckeye with her everywhere she went. And I have one right here at my computer, the buckeye as a symbol. So it was a symbol that came through her dreams. A symbol of good luck, good fortune on her path. She also liked to tell about this vision. Actually, it was kind of folklore on her side of the family, of a pretty lady wearing turn-of-the-century clothing who would appear in the garden. And she would be looking, in the garden, walking through the garden. And this was a vision that visited that side of the family for generations. Someone would see the pretty lady in the garden and report back to the others, I saw her, I saw her. I never saw her. But I thought that's very interesting that they see this, they think that it means something. Some thought that she might be actually the angel of death come to call. But whatever the case, they weren't frightened of her. They just saw her again. Oh, there she is out there in the garden. And then finally, my mother liked to tell the dream of her dead father coming to visit her. And she was not afraid. She said she was taking an afternoon nap, and he walked in just as he had been working in the garden. He came in and sat down on the edge of the bed, and they had a nice chat. Nothing too important or major. They just had a nice chat, and then he left. And she registered that in her body as real, as important as what we call waking life. He came to her. Now, interestingly enough, later in life, I had the same experience when my father died. I was in such grief. And then one night I had the dream. There he was. We had the nice chat. He said, I sure gave you a hard time, didn't I? I said, you sure did. And it was closure for me. It was better than waking life. It really penetrated me to have that dream. So because in my family those things were possible and meant something, then it meant something to me too. So you have to look at where you came from, what conditioning you've had about dreams and visions and so on. Now, when I was a teenager, though, I was plagued with some nightmare type dreams. They actually, I later found out they were sleep paralysis dreams. I didn't know that at the time, but I would find myself stuck between wake and sleep. Has anybody had that experience? Yeah, Laura, good. Yeah, well, not that it's good, because it can be really
Yes,
scary.
Andrea. Andrea
Andrea,
had that for almost a decade. It was
yes.
terrifying.
Were you younger then, like in your teens, or?
Yes, I was approaching teen years from about 8 years old until
uh,
almost 17 or something.
What did you think was happening, Andrea?
I thought that I was being abducted by aliens.
I thought supernatural was coming after me, ghosts and
Abs Absolutely, because there was no understanding of that physiological process. So of course the imagination goes to aliens. They're coming to get me.
aliens for you, but it was ghosts for me. Were coming for me, and the experience of it would be that I would get out of bed and be walking around the room trying to turn on lights and feeling really scared, and no lights would turn on, and I'd turn around and see, oh, I'm still in the bed. I haven't moved an inch. And it would be so frightening. Now, it'd be nice if that were pleasant. I could just go astral projecting out into the universe, but it was frightening, as Andrea's was. And so I suddenly found a tool, and that was to go to sleep face down. If I went to sleep face down, I wouldn't have it. I'd get a crink in my neck, but face up, I would like lift right out of the body and be walking around the room. Now, this went away after my teen years, so I only had it for that period of time, except for that recently when I had a knee replacement and was taking opioids, painkillers. There it was again. Oh, stuck in the middle, trying to call out for help. Neerja, help me, help me. And I get really mad. She's not listening. But really, my mouth wasn't moving. I wasn't vocalizing at all. I was stuck in between. And that got me off the pain meds real quick because I didn't like that experience of being stuck in there. So it can be really interesting to contemplate that history of this dream world, this dream life that I mean, whether you remember dreams or not, you're going into the brain waves, you're going to sleep, something's happening during that time, unless you go into dreamless sleep, which I guess we all do. In our culture, as Joel points out, we don't take dreams all that seriously in our culture. But in spiritually based cultures, dream life can be just as important, if not more so, than waking life. And let us not forget the visions. By the way, when I was around 30, I became quite visionary in that I would close my eyes and suddenly I would be able to fly, lifted up off the earth, flying around the earth, in orbit around the earth. And I could see myself underwater, breathing underwater, It was this I liked. I liked that. Ooh, that was good. Just close my eyes and there I would be. Well, pretty soon, this figure began to recur, and it was a very, very tall woman, at least 8 feet tall, maybe more. She was very tall, and she had an enormous wingspan, and she could fly. Okay, I identified with her, obviously. She could fly around the whole planet. And I understood that she was there to absorb all the sorrows of the world and to transform that energy into something positively growthful and beautiful. I called her Sorrow Woman. Sorrow Woman. And then continuing on in my history, I started to have those anxiety dreams. I'd get anxiety dreams because I was working in a radio station. So the setting was the radio station. And I would be the sole controller of the master control room. Listen to the symbolism in that. The sole controller of the master control room. And I worked there for 5 years. But in these dreams, I would be managing the live on air mics, the turntables, the big reel to reel tape decks, the AP Newswire and weather coming in constantly, the NPR newscast coming in through various satellite channels, the whole big soundboard. I was in control of all of it. And in this anxiety dream, nothing would work. I would be in a panic. Nothing. I'd try it all. The turntable, get the records going, turn the mic on. Nothing, nothing. And what does that spell? Dead air. My biggest fear was dead air. Complete silence on the airways. So, I mean, to me, that's very symbolic. It's true that, I had the actual experience of working there and sometimes, being flustered, getting things going. But that dream, it kept on for many years and it will still recur and sometimes in different formations. So you might look at what kind of anxieties, dreams do you have? Are you trying to make a phone call and you can't get the phone number to work? It won't go through over and over you're trying? Whatever it is, take a look at that dream. Is there something there calling out to you? Now, it wasn't until I met Joel in 1993 that I made a commitment to the practice of the night, and that is dream work. And I was really fortunate to be in dream groups with Joel. Some of you also here, Wesley, I know, was in dream group with Joel. Anybody else, Nirja? Yeah, I can't see whose hand is up back there behind Laura, but I do see some more hands. Mary? Yeah, Mary. Yeah, good. So Joel would lead dream groups for us. And we had to keep dream journals and come in each week and report on a dream. And Joel was very, very sharp about, getting to the interpretation quickly. It was quite amazing to see. And, I knew that dreams were significant, but I didn't really realize that spiritual value until I made that commitment to dreams. Joel says, if we don't consider dream work as spiritual practitioners, a third of our lives have been disregarded. The heck with it. 1/3 of our life, our entire life, disregarded. And that second precept that we have to regard each moment as a precious opportunity for spiritual practice. And that includes while you're sleeping. Practicing in your sleep, even. You might think, oh, that sounds a little too much, or what drudgery that would be. But in my experience, it hasn't been drudgery. Actually has been quite enjoyable. In Joel's book, The Way of Selflessness, and I'm sure you all know this book, this is the first edition, chapter 8 is called Tracking Dreams. And Joel says there are two kinds of dreams: saying that the main difference lies in the content of the dreams. He says, egoic dreams are woven from the fabric of our personal histories and reflect the self-centered worries and concerns that arise out of our worldly pursuits. And he says the second category is spiritual dreams. Spiritual contents are not derived from our personal histories, nor do they express purely personal problems. They come from a transpersonal dimension of consciousness known to all as the great traditions. Now, since Joel is here, I wonder, Joel, could I ask you, is there some variety in there? I mean, is there a hybrid dream? For example, when I think of my radio station dreams, it's based on an experience I had, but seems to have spiritual import in trying to control everything and being afraid of silence and that sort of thing. What do you think? Is there in between that?
Yes, there. I would put it this way: it's a spectrum, and in fact, most dreams are either purely egoic or they're mixed, hybrid, and then it rarely, but it's rare, do you have a pure archetypal dream.
Yeah.
A pure archetypal dream would be, for instance, in the Tibetan tradition, Manjushri might show up. He's the god, or a god, not like our god, but a spirit of wisdom. So if Manjushri could show up and give you teachings, well, that's just purely archetypal. You don't have to interpret that. You just listen to the teachings. The very, high teachings. I mean, this is Manjushri showing up just for you to give you these teachings is extremely important, and you should feel graced. But that's very rare. I would say in my life I've had maybe 3 or 4 really archetypal dreams. But especially if you're on a spiritual path, I think most people start having more mixed dreams, just like you're describing, where the material comes out of your everyday life, but the symbolism is spiritual symbolism. So on my path, I started having lots of those kinds of dreams, and I went to dream workshops, a couple of dream workshops, and that's how I learned to do dream workshops, and that's also how I learned to actually look at my own dreams and be able to interpret them. So I do think there's a great variety, and I think that one of the values of being in a dream workshop with other people is they can help you, discern what's spiritual, what's the spiritual meaning of that. Let me say one other thing. If you're not on a spiritual path, I mean, at least this is my experience. I actually once led a dream workshop for a group of people that was kind of related to the center, but they weren't really on a spiritual path. They had a whole program of wellness and life achievement and self-expression, all that. And I was the spiritual component of their, they had money, somebody counseled on money, somebody counseled them in yoga, or, whatever. And so I had a dream workshop with these people, and it was amazing how little spiritual dreams they had. They were important dreams for them. They were dreams about their life, their relationships, and careers and things like that. But almost no spiritual content. So I think it makes a big difference. And I think a lot of people, not everybody, of course, but a lot of people, once you go on a spiritual path, and once that becomes part of your life, things, you ponder and so forth, it starts bubbling up in your dreams.
Yes.
And that's when it really gets rich.
Yes, it's sort of like when you're trying to learn a language. Let's say you're studying French. You're finally getting it when you start dreaming in that language.
Right.
And so as a meditator, if you find yourself actually meditating in your dreams or listening to spiritual teachings, you're really getting in there. It's becoming part of you at that point.
And let me say, just,
ahead.
we've been talking about dreams, and that's fine, but I look at it, there are 2 kinds of practices of the night. One is dreaming and keeping track of them, interpreting your dreams and all that. The other is actually doing what you're talking about, doing a meditation practice in your dream, or a practice of compassion in your dream. So you're treating your dream, as an environment in which to practice. And I also have read that Tibetans say doing a practice in a dream is 9 times more powerful than doing it in waking life.
Whoa. Wow, that's
That's a
good news.
yes. I think that was Namkai Norbu. That's a direct quote
Yeah.
from him.
And Namkai Norbu is one of the masters that we studied way back when we were doing dream practice when I first started. And by the way, this is Joel's memoir, the first edition, and which I recently reread. And Joel, you see all my sticky notes. Can y'all see that out there near you? Can you? Yeah. So the blue tabs are dreams or relating to dreams. So Joel wrote a lot about his own dream work in this memoir, and especially this dream about Athena, which I'm going to get to pretty quick. If you don't mind, Joel, I'm going to talk about your Athena dream. I think it relates to my sorrow woman archetype. That's coming up. But I wanted to go on to this, back to this book on chapter 8. Joel says that you can cultivate spiritual dreams by paying attention. It's number one, making a commitment, practicing detachment, and surrendering to the dream. And he says these are the 4 principles that govern all the spiritual practices that we do. So these 4 things, paying attention is number 1. And I like to bring in that term, deep listening. I'm really going to listen deeply. I'm going to go into that space of deep listening at night. Okay? I'm going to listen. I'm going to pay attention. Joel says, you can think of dreams as being authored by the cosmic dreamer who is trying to communicate with you. So give this dreamer your attention. So many times we just, toss the dreams away as meaningless. And then second, make a commitment to do this practice every night and write down what you remember when you wake up. So every night you might actually ask the cosmic dreamer, may I have a dream tonight? Okay, may I have a dream tonight? And try to remember and write it down as soon as you can. And by the way, sometimes we just can't grasp it. It slips away too quickly. But I found that with practice, you keep trying, you keep asking, it's going to pay off at some point. The third point is practice detachment. And what Joel said about that is when you record your dreams, it is essential that you practice detachment. This means not embellishing episodes that you find embarrassing or unpleasant, like you're having an orgy in your dreams, but you don't want to, tell anybody that, right? Or write that down. You don't embellish, you don't give in to embarrassment. One of the most valuable things about dreams, Joel says, is that they bring to light obstacles that your ego doesn't want to acknowledge. Don't allow your ego to paper over things in the morning. So, in my words, detach from what you want and from what you don't want, and just be neutral in observing what is arising. You might say, I don't want to see that. Don't want to tell anyone that. Be detached, neutrally observing what arises. And finally, a surrender to the dream. Joel says one of the biggest differences between most psychological approaches to dream work and a spiritual approach is that psychologists tend to ask how a dream serves the ego self. As a spiritual seeker, however, you should be asking how you can serve the cosmic dreamer, which represents consciousness itself. Okay, so those 4 points, those 4 principles. And then he goes on to give 4 pointers about starting dream work, because some of you here may have never given this a thought to do dream work. How do you get started? And once you make that commitment and you have some dreams coming, Joel says, first, you write down the dream and give it a title, preferably the first thing that comes to mind, because your intuition is kicking in here. Don't try to calculate it and come up with an award-winning title, just the title that seems to pop for that particular dream. And I personally recommend writing in present tense. It's happening now. See what I'm saying? I'm on a raft, I'm going down the river. Okay, something like that. And then after writing down the dream, ponder the symbols and situations. Ponder. Now, in the group I'm leading, I'm asking people not to get too tied up in trying to intellectualize about these symbols or to figure it out, but rather let it unfold for you. Ponder. I like the word ponder. The symbols and situations. And number 3, ask for the dreams. You say, I never get any good dream. Well, start asking. Ask for them. And if the dreams just seem murky or chaotic, ask for clarification. Cosmic Dreamer, please. I've been doing this myself. Please, Cosmic Dreamer, let my dreams be memorable. Let me hold on to them when I wake up. Let them be clear. And then Joel says, after some time of recording your dreams every night, or as many nights as you can, read your whole dream journal back to yourself. He said, treat it like a surrealistic novel written by another person. Doing this can reveal recurrent themes, which seen in isolation seem to have little significance, but seen in a larger context fit into patterns that are rich with meaning. Often I will go back into my tablets because I write every day. I mark things, dream, dream, dream. I go back and read a dream from a while ago. I can't remember it at all. Was this my dream? I don't remember this. I wrote it down. It's my handwriting, but it slipped away. So getting that in writing is so important for most of us. So coming back to Joel's memoir here. And Joel, it's kind of weird for me speaking for you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
You're doing a great job.
It's great to have the master teacher sitting right here.
No, you're doing a great job. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, good.
I will add one technical thing,
Please do.
especially in the modern age. When I wrote this, that we were starting to have the hand recorders with the little cassette
Yes.
tapes in them. Well, nowadays we have all these little devices. You can record your dreams. I think you ultimately should write them down, like you say, so you can read them over like a surrealist novel. But it helps to be able to just record them right away before you even get out of bed. Just if you're sleeping alone, you can just pick up your little recorder and do it. And then you got it. You got it really down, really fresh.
Yeah.
And even one time I woke up in the middle of the night and I recorded it. I went back to sleep, and the next morning I listened to it. I had no recollection of having the dream or recording it or anything. It was really really strange.
All I can think is that it has to do with different brain waves, and when you get out of bed, your brain waves are changing, and it can slip away so quickly.
Yes,
So yeah, if you do, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. One other thing that you said, that ponder. This is very important. The pondering is not intellectually analyzing the dream. It's not trying to figure it out intellectually. Pondering is sitting with the symbols until they speak to you. Something comes up and says, "Oh, that's rich." Yeah, maybe you remember something in your life that happened, or you can ask yourself, "Well, I've dreamed about horses now 4 or 5 times. So what do horses mean to me?" Don't try to figure that out. Just ask. What are they? Oh, well, horses mean speed. They mean life. They mean energy. Okay, so that's how you ponder. It's not an intellectual figuring it out. It's much more creative. It's like a creative writing or any creative
absolutely.
work. Yeah. So
absolutely.
that's very important. Anyway, go ahead.
Good. Okay, so I'm going to actually read to you all Joel's major dream that brings Athena into his life. Okay? So this would be in Joel's voice. I am walking through a gentle meadow with no particular destination in mind when the meadow turns into foothills. It's still easygoing and pleasant, but then gradually I realize I am climbing the steep slope of a mountain. This is harder work, and soon I find myself scaling a sheer granite cliff, fingers and feet clutching at cracks and toe holes. a fierce wind whipping around my body. I look down and I am terrified to see the earth thousands of feet below. For a moment, I freeze, but an inner voice urges me to keep going. After all, it reasons, a fall from here or higher up will kill you just the same. With great difficulty, I struggle on toward the top, and at last I make it. I look out over a breathtaking landscape spread at my feet. The 7 continents and the 7 seas extend before my eyes in a 360-degree horizon. Both the sun and moon are simultaneously visible in the sky, one half of which is night and the other day, and a sacred hush envelops the world. Suddenly, I become aware of a woman standing at my side wearing a helmet. She hands me a sword and says, "This sword is as bright as the moon and as sharp as the stars, and with it you can cut through the heart of truth." I take the sword and hold it in the palm of my hand, and it feels powerful and good. Then I turn to the woman and ask, "Who are you?" "Don't you know?" She laughs gently. "I am Athena, and I've been with you always." Joel says he then awoke in a state of awe, feeling humble and strangely blessed. He says, "Although I knew that Athena was a Greek goddess and that the gift of the sword had symbolic antecedents in legend and myth, I made no attempt to analyze these things, for the dream did not seem to point to anything beyond itself. It had its own reality, a reality so numinous and self-evident that by comparison, the wake-a-day world appeared but a pale counterfeit. What's more, the message was perfectly and profoundly clear and needed no additional interpretation. I also knew it was a message I could ignore only at the peril of my soul." Is that powerful? Yeah, Laura, I see you. I see you. Joel, you said that that was the only time you ever saw Athena. She was in the flesh, in the dream, you saw her. You never saw her projected outward, but that she continued talking with you on your spiritual journey. Can you say a little about that? How she
Yeah,
kept in contact?
yes, and talking, it may sound like I was having auditory hallucinations, and it wasn't talking in language like that. Uh, it was it was just overwhelming. Um, it's hard to explain, but a feeling that I had to do something here, I had to do something this way, uh, and um, and I'd be pondering something in my life, and there'd be several months or weeks would go by anyway, and I wouldn't hear from her, and then I would be going to go to see a new teacher or something like that, and then I'd get this strong feeling, oh, don't do that, or it's a big mistake, going up the wrong road, do this. All right, so I do that, and she never explained why any of this. It's just mostly yes and no kinds of things. Uh, so that's what I mean, and that continued until really up until just after my awakening. Um, the last time I ever heard from her like that. So, and I still get significant dreams and stuff like that. I've had, but not. I don't. They're not directly tied to her anymore. They just the as a manifest, a particular embodiment of wisdom. So
Yes.
it's like she played her part, and she's off, helping somebody else. Uh,
I wonder if she was also playing the part of my sorrow woman.
yeah, no, oh no, definitely. And
And
if you read my the Way of Selflessness, I give about 3 or 4 other uh, instances of people from different cultures having Athena appear in the guise
yeah,
of their culture, and
yes,
I recognize the same woman energy wisdom. It's
yeah,
really she's Athena in Greek in mythology is a wisdom goddess, and
Yeah.
That's what these others are. So
Yeah, a feminine spiritual guide. It's a feminine energy. Sort of, I just pulled out this card, the Empress, who is
mm,
the goddess of fertility and nature, all of nature, and beauty and creativity and so on. Um, so these archetypes can come up and be called different things in different cultures.
right,
So this
exactly.
feminine guide seemed to have come to us both. And I think maybe because Athena came to you and guided you, we're here today at the Center for Sacred Sciences. If she had not, maybe this wouldn't, who knows where we would be. And maybe because of Sorrow Woman directing me with this message of absorbing sorrow, I mean, which actually means opening your heart to the sorrows of the world. I've got room, bring them on, and then transforming that. Has been sort of the theme of my life, a natural, uh, my own nature to absorb sorrow and transmute it. So anyway,
Can I add one more
yes,
thing? Just,
absolutely.
just to give you an example of how rich dreams are, I just noticed two things about you're reading it back now that I didn't ever realize before.
Mm,
One is that
that's great.
climbing up this cliff, this
Yeah.
sheer rock, that's the Sierra Nevada where I spent a
Oh,
year with Dr. Wolf after my awakening, and that's exactly what those those mountains, the cliffs are like on the eastern side of the Sierra. And I never put that together, but there it was. So, and I had never been to the Sierra before. When I had this
wow.
dream, I had no idea that everything.
Wow.
And then the other thing was, I'm there, and then it was the sky was night and day, the sun and the moon, so half night, half day. So I'm in between night and day.
Yeah.
I wake up when I'm in my wake. I mean, my fleshly life. I woke up between waking and sleep in the
Yeah.
space between waking and sleep, between the day and the night.
Yeah.
So that was again forecasting almost that when the time I actually did wake up.
Yeah.
I never
And that's
thought.
why, yeah, and that's why dream groups can really be helpful. I mean, I read your dream back to you, and in teaching writing, I often tell students have someone read your story to you or your poem to you, and you'll hear it differently. But yeah, we can find so many things if we let her surrender to it. And
Absolutely.
then to have the dream group, you make a kind of a community, this commitment as a community to support each other in that. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to talk about the dream group I'm leading right now, and I have some readers here in the audience who are going to show you some of the things that we're doing. Oh, there's Ellie. Hi, Ellie. Come on in. But first of all, before I get to that, I just briefly wanted to tell you about something that happened to me that I think is an important experience relating to this. Uh, so one day I was sitting in my car and I was sitting in an alleyway. I was going to pick someone up and I was waiting. And some of the things that we would do in Joel's dream groups is to ask ourselves throughout the day, are you awake or are you asleep? And in the dream group I'm leading now, I ask people, are you dreaming this or is this waking? And it gets confusing. Maybe, I don't know who's dreaming this. But anyway, this particular day I was sitting in my car waiting and I thought, okay, am I awake or am I asleep? I'll try it. And I had been doing Vipassana meditation, which had me sweeping through the body, feeling the sensations of the body. And I was sitting there and I felt the warmth of the sun on my cheek. And I said, yeah, that's it. That's the sun. That's our sun. I feel it. Yeah. And then I thought, well, here's my hands on the steering wheel, kind of relaxed. And I feel the wheel and the texture. Yep. Concrete. I'm awake. And I felt myself seated in this seat. I could feel the curvature and everything sitting there. Feel my feet on the floor inside the car. I had recently had a mint in my mouth. I could still taste it. I could sort of smell the new car smell was way faded. It was a faded out lot, but I could pick it up a little bit, the smell of the inside of the car. And I could hear, there's some birds outside and There's some kids in the distance. I could hear it all. So I just traveled to the sensations. I am awake. This is solid. This is real. And then I woke up. I woke up and I was lying in bed and I was absolutely shocked. I was so certain I was awake in that car, meditating through the sensations of the body. And then I woke up and I lie there feeling the sheets. And I thought, am I awake? Am I awake? Or am I asleep? Oh, what is this? Am I going to wake up more? Wake up more. Wake up more. So this was one of the most important dream experiences I ever had because it juxtaposed those two realities. And I realized when we're dreaming, our dreamer self thinks, oh yeah, this is real. To our dreamer self, everything feels real. And we can practice lucidity, practice. In Joel's dream group that I did, we did some practices whereby we might say, well, if we see a red light in the dream, that means ask yourself if you're asleep or not. Wake up, be lucid in your dreams. So it's quite possible to be in a dream and realize you're dreaming and wake up inside the dream. Some of you have had that experience, I can tell. So right now, are we dreaming? Have you gotten out of bed yet? Who is that doing all this talking? In my opinion, and in the opinion of many mystics, the mind is dreaming night and day, unless it isn't, unless you go into dreamless sleep or absolute silence, whereby the inner narrative falls away. The mind is dreaming night and day. It's telling us stories all day. It's connecting up the dots and telling us stories. And then we go to sleep. It's connecting up dots and telling us stories. What's the difference? What's the difference there? So once at a Cloud Mountain retreat with Joel, I just got to tell you this one more story here. It was during our dream work that we were doing. Joel, you know what I'm going to tell. It was a long retreat, but midway through the retreat up at Cloud Mountain, we all had private rooms up there, which was nice. I was always exhausted because I don't like to get up so early in the morning. But this particular night, it was around 2 a.m. and I was fast asleep when I heard a knock at the door. Wow, that's weird. There's someone knocking at my door. And then I heard Fred's voice, and Fred was saying, meditation in 15 minutes. David, were you there? I saw you laugh. You sort of remember that one?
I was just laughing at hearing Fred's voice in my head as you said that.
Oh, was that Mike? Yeah. And I thought, is this real? It sounds like Fred, but maybe this is a dream. I don't know. I guess I'll get up. So I threw on some clothes and I thought, this is so weird. And I probably went to the bathroom real quick. And then I go outside. It's dark and there's people creeping along, like, they got blankets pulled over, or, jackets and hoods. And we're all creeping along, heading to Diamond Hall. I was up the hill a little bit, so I had to come down. And then we went into Diamond Hall. It was pitch black. I couldn't even see Joel in there. And we all sit in our postures there. And all of a sudden, Joel's deep voice started to boom out of the darkness and lead us in a little meditation. And then he rang the bell and it was over. And then we crept back to our rooms. And I eventually got back to sleep. And in the morning, I woke up and I said, did that happen or not? I can't tell the difference. Was that a dream or not? And since we were in silence, I couldn't run down and ask someone. I had to sit with that the whole rest of the retreat until we did the roundup at the end. Like, was that a dream or not? So that was so effective, Joel. I'm outing you on that one. That was so effective. And there were other times that you did some interesting things, but another time for that. So coming up to the present now, Joel has recently asked me to consider doing dream groups. And my first response was, oh man, I could never do what you've done, Joel. You were such an expert at it, and I can't fill your shoes there. And I thought about it for a while, and I finally just had a vision of, oh, why don't you combine that with some of the other things you're doing and then just see if it takes off and see if it really works for you. So I created, it just came to me in a flash, this group called ZAG, Zoom Awakening Group, Dream Work. We focus on the first precept of responsibility, which I think is so important. And we also use creative writing as a tool for awakening purposes, to put it in short terms like that. And so we've been doing it. And some of the people are here today who are in my group. What I was noticing as we're going along, we're about to finish our first round, and we will pick up again in January. We'll have another round. And I'm hoping at that time, by the way, we're going to go deeper into individual dreams and interpreting them. But I know that some people had a little bit of hard time getting the dreams going, myself included, while others were just dreaming up a storm. The minute I said dreaming, they were like every night having very vivid dreams. And so I decided, well, let me try a method that occurred to me, because in my writing workshops I've done for the center, I use what I call roll-ups. See if I have one here. Roll-ups, when they're printed out, they look like this, and I roll them all up, and you get a writing prompt every day, and you unroll it, and the next day you unroll it and you get the next one. So I decided, I'm going to do one of these for dreaming and see how it works. And I'm going to just screen share with you. Let me see, screen share. This dream roll up I gave recently. And then I'm going to have some people read from it. So I hope that you can see that. Nirja, can you give me thumbs up if you can see that? Okay, good. So free dreaming, I just made this up, is meant to channel into that place where dream images emerge. Each day, use the writing prompt to leap into the unknown. It's important that you relax into the images and feelings without trying to manipulate them. Don't concern yourself with writing well or making sense. And at the end of the 7-day period, read them all and see what kind of symbols and themes communicate with you. And then I have 7 prompts here for each day, which I will read to you. But one reason this popped into my mind is because Joel told me when he was leading a dream group that he had one fellow who just couldn't have any dreams. Nothing came. And so Joel said, let's make up a dream right now. Just make one up. And so the guy did. He just, started telling a story. And it had the symbolism. It had something useful to him. And so there's other ways to access this. So what I did, I wrote this out, and some of the symbols that we were looking at within the group, the symbol of a house. So I put a house here. And then the steep climb or steep steps, I put in the next one. A bridge as a symbol, I put that here. Water, I put here, and then flying, I put here. The wise one, going up the mountain to the wise one, I put here, and in the presence of the wise one. And finally, I am driving so vehicles. Okay, so with a shock, I wake up in the morning and find that my house, now this, you in the audience, if you want to try these at home, you sure can try it. Don't worry about bootlegging it, it's fine. I trudge up the steep steps feeling very, sometimes just the beginning of a sentence and it unfolds onto your tablet. Just then, a colorful bird speaks to me. It says, "See that bridge over there? When the water reaches my ankles, I begin to fly. On top of the mountain, a sign points to the wise one. In the presence of the wise one, I feel, and now I am driving a." Okay. So the readers I have are Nirja, Wesley, Laura, Jude, Mary, Donna. Okay. And I thought I would start with Nirja on the first one, and maybe you can come up and get on microphone. So this is what you wrote for the number one.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. With shock, I wake up in the morning and find my house is floating down a river. The river is wide and muddy. I cannot see the shore through the heavy rain. I begin walking from room to room and am amazed at how stable the house feels. It is a boat, a houseboat. I am the only person here. I search for a phone, but eventually sit down by the window and watch. We have drifted closer to shore, but I see no sign of others. What river is this anyway? The house runs aground, and I find myself in an old ruined city. Buildings crumbled. I see a cat coming toward me, large and friendly. It jumps on my shoulder and directs me through a convoluted jumble of debris.
So filled with symbolism. Did that take around 10 minutes to write, Nirja?
Probably a little less.
A little less.
Probably, yeah. I
It
just wrote
doesn't
it.
take long.
Felt
By the way, dreams can be very short-lived too, maybe a few seconds, but filled with symbolism. And Wesley is next. Wesley's going to trudge up that steep slope, and we need to unmute you, Wesley.
I trudge up the steep steps, feeling very heavy. Why did I agree to go on this hike in the first place? These steps are going on forever. Funny though, the further I go, the lighter I feel. It's almost as if I am becoming transparent. Oh my gosh, I'm really becoming. I can see right through my arm. Do I dare go any further? What if I disappear? Will it be like death? Will I be able to see or think?
Thank you, Wesley. Beautiful. And Laura, you're the colorful bird.
Just then, a colorful bird speaks to me. It says, "See that bridge over there?" Amazingly, I am not surprised that a bird is speaking to me. It feels so natural. And from that earlier sense of darkness, I am delighting how beautiful and colorful this bird is. Oops, listen carefully, Laura. There's a bridge just over there. And so I see a bridge, a nice, short, and sturdy bridge, leaving the steep, almost barren stairs for a welcoming bridge is very comforting. Thank you, bird. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura. And Nirja has the water and flying.
When the water reaches my ankles, I begin to fly back up to the bridge. Wait, cat and bird call out in unison. You can swim too. I watch as they dive into the rushing river and navigate their way downstream. I fly overhead, steep walls of the gorge on each side of me. I can see cat and bird underwater. I want to join them, and yet suddenly I'm no longer flying. I fall through the air and land in the river. I sputter to the shore. My fear of water almost drowned me, an old fear. Time to let go. I dive in, calling out to bird and cat, "Wait for me." Then I meet Fish, a beautiful being who beckons to me. "Come," she seems to say, and I follow her downstream.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Jude, you're on top of the mountain.
On top of the mountain, a sign points to the wise one, so I head that way. wondering what to ask. What is the purpose of my life? Will I ever reach realization? Is this to be my final lifetime? How can I have lucid dreams more often? How do I stop overeating? Why can't I stop picking my skin? Questions both weighty and flighty pass through my mind at the same time. Will I only be able to ask one question? Will there be a line to her presence? Will I remember what she says? I trudge on, lost in contemplation, indecision, fear, excitement, anticipation, relief, and wonder that I'm so lucky to be this near to her. There is one final turn on the path, and as I round the bend, I am shocked to see a mirror.
And now Mary and Donna are going to do the same one, I think. So Mary, you go first and then Donna comes. And Donna, I'm not sure if yours was the top of the mountain or in the presence. Doesn't matter whichever one that is, but
On top of the mountain, a sign points to the wise one. So I chose an arrow to follow. There were many arrows pointing up, down, right, left, forward, backward. The arrow I chose to follow pointed itself back to me. I unpacked my gear, set up my stove, lit a small fire, put on a pot of spring water for tea. The water boiled quickly in the high altitude, so soon I had a hot mug of ginger, mint, lemon balm tea warming my hands and lap while sitting on a rocky ledge overlooking miles of wilderness, untouched by human beings. The mountains in the far distance were clearly children of this mother mountain peak's violent labor pains from eons of timeless history where tectonic plate shifts forced giant sculptures of granite out of the earth's crust. I could see the wisdom of nature's force happening for no other reason than to exist without thought, forever living through creative form, consciousness birthing itself again and again into infinity. Wrapped across my shoulders, a warm alpaca wool blanket protected my body, covering my lap from the cooling mountain air. The light was waning as the two suns set in the west and three moons moved on separate paths across the eastern sky. I sat alone under the solitude of a billion stars twinkling their promises in the nighttime skyscape. I sat alone, inviting myself to tea, drinking each sip filled with sacred wisdom, memories and visions, grateful to have found myself and recognize who I am, my place in the world, the wise one.
beautiful. Thank you, Donna Lee. Beautiful. How about it, Mary?
Yes, and it's interesting enough, I have it's the next roll up.
Okay, good.
In the presence of the wise one.
Yeah.
I feel infinitely loved and accepted, and a knowing that I am always protected and guided because I too am a part of all that is. It's inside me and I am in it. Connected in a way that defines words, indescribable. I search for the words. Of course I search for the words, there are none. Like trying to explain how a butterfly can come out fully formed from a pupa. Like trying to explain how it feels when your 3-year-old granddaughter says, "You are so beautiful, Grandma." Like how it feels when a baby falls asleep in your arms. I am that baby, falling asleep in the all-encompassing embrace of the universe.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you for that. That was worth it. I think we'll let the driving one go. We'll just let that one go. Laura, you want to do the driving one?
I do.
Okay, do the driving one.
It's not long. And now I'm driving a yellow sports car, happy as a lark. Well, no, that's not true. I am driving a path of curiosity and a sense of love and compassion in my heart. And when I see others, my attention goes to them. How are they doing? What service to my community is available to me? The world of my heart has expanded, and it's opening a new view of all that is consciousness.
I love this. Thank you so much. Everybody who read for us today, thank you so much. It seems to work. This free dreaming technique seems to have something to it. What do you think, Joel? Maybe yes?
Yes, actually, that's my experience. Just what you said. It doesn't matter. If you don't have a dream, you make one up. And by the way, this guy, he made one up every week. I mean, one day we had 7 days too, and spread out over 7 weeks, and
Yeah.
it all made complete sense.
Yeah.
And each one he's making up on the spot. But I mean, the whole dream was about in the desert searching for water and and starving, and it was amazing, just amazing. So excellent.
Wonderful.
That was
Wonderful.
beautiful.
Yeah. So even though you may feel like, oh, I don't really remember dreams, or I'm not, don't have that, maybe you can get into that place in another way. And so here's a technique that seems to be working for us. Wesley, you had a comment you wanted to make about between.
Yeah, when we think about our ordinary life, if it were made a recipe, there'd be so much fantasy, and there'd be some wandering, and there'd be some thinking, and there'd be all these elements, and you put them all together, and you get this day, or this point in the day. And my thought is that all those same elements are in a dream, just in different proportions than they are in every day. So it's really the two are really exactly the same, except one is a bun cake and the other one is a upside down cake.
Or chocolate cake, a bun cake and an upside down cake. Thank you for that. That's very insightful. Anybody else want to speak up with a question or comment? Yeah, Mary, go ahead.
The benefit of writing a dream down is the fact you can go back later. You suggested we make some smaller dream groups, so I picked one at random. It was a couple of months old, and at the bottom of it I had written, I have no idea what this dream is about. And so my other participant just asked me questions, didn't make any comments about what this might mean or that might mean, but just in that process of asking me questions, it was a classroom dream, were there kids there? What do you think this meant for you? In that process, I had this amazingly visceral knowing of what, even the title, which just suddenly became crystal clear.
Wonderful.
All that had happened was just being asked. So in a way, it's kind of like when you do yoga at home and then you take a class, how, I could do yoga at home, but when I go to a class, I'm forced to do it in a slightly more concrete. So I feel like I could do that for myself. I could look back at dreams and ask myself, what does this mean? So I'm going to try doing that.
Good. Yeah, and our ZAG group is really too large to do individual interpretation, and so I have recommended that people make small groups or partnerships, so you can share more and just get more input and help other people and so on. And then when we start up in January, I'm hoping we can focus more into individual dreams. Anybody else want to speak up, comments or questions about this? Okay, we've come to the end of our time. Hello, Ellie. What have your dreams been like, Ellie?
Hi, everybody. And to answer your question, I have trouble knowing when I'm dreaming, let alone I have trouble knowing when I'm sleeping or waking, let alone knowing when I'm dreaming.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that sometime in your life you did a lot of dream study. Is that true?
What? Not a lot.
Not a lot.
I had one class, I think I remember writing down the dreams, and I know the dreams came more frequent when would write them down.
Yeah. Good. Good. I'm glad you're here, Ellie. So everyone, thank you for being here. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring your hands up like this. You can say hello to everybody on the screen and in the room there. Greetings all. It's so nice to connect, you know, to be together. And there's Jim again. Hi, Jim. Jim, were you on that retreat? Were you on that dream retreat where we had to get up in the middle of the night?
I believe I was. Joel
Okay.
did lots of crazy things like that. So many treats had those elements. So I'm pretty sure I was.
Good. It's good to see you.
See you.
Okay. And then let's bring those hands facing each other like that. And then very slowly, we just let them come together on their own slowly, because you can feel this urge to unite. Just notice fingertips touching and palms starting to come together. I like to bring my elbows up a little bit. And then bowing to all the teachings and all the teachers and the community itself. Thank you so much for being part of this today.